The newest episode of Helluva Boss, The Full Moon, just dropped on YouTube. Let's talk about everything that happened in the episode and give you my full review. Now, first things first, the episode starts off with the duet song that was leaked to us by Vivzy earlier in the year. Now, while I do like the idea of a Blitz and Stolas duet, I'm still not a huge fan of this song. Maybe I'm a little too spoiled from Has Been Hotel, but I kind of expected more with a higher budget. Especially when you consider that the whole episode itself seems to be on a higher budget with way better animation than it originally had previous. Now, outside of the quality of the song itself, the concept's pretty interesting. Stolas is pretty frantic, trying to figure out what he's going to do to confess his love to Blitz, while Blitz kind of sees it within a sexual transaction and is trying to figure out how he can please Stolas the best. And as a result, the dichotomy sets a really good tone for the rest of the episode. Now, from here in the episode, we actually cut straight back to the human world where we find out the Cherubs are still alive and they're actually hustling to make money. Now, the reason they're seemingly doing this is to build up enough money to both eat and get revenge against IMP. But that's not even everything. We also find out D.O.R.S, the organization that captured Blitz back in season 1, are also watching the Cherubs, thinking that they're demons. From here, we see Agents 1 and 2 capture the Cherubs and tie them up, trying to get information out of them about the imps. And this is where some smart things happen. The Cherubs manage to convince Agents 1 and 2 that they're actually exorcists sent from heaven. Now, overall, I really do like this callback. Combining the villains of episode 4 and episode 6 to make this big holistic thing is pretty cool in my opinion, and the callback to Exorcist from Has Been Hotel is also pretty cool. Now, from here, we actually get a bunch of little cool lore stuff. For example, we found out that D.O.R.S showed the video of Stolas to the government, and with it, they got 4 times their annual budget. Now, they did a ton with this budget, one of the biggest ones being creating a portal to hell, and on top of that, making suits that are designed off of the IMP members. But there's quite a few issues with this, one of the biggest ones being that the portal to hell is only 2 feet in diameter. But this is where Agents 1 and 2 want the Cherubs. For example, humans can't make it through the hole in the portal, but the Cherubs can because they're so small. So the agents suit up the Cherubs and send them through the portal to hunt down IMP. Now, if I'm being honest here, the scenes I see here I'm not a huge fan of, because if I'm being honest, the over-actualized scenes with the toys where Blitz is looking for a present for Stolas are kind of a little too much for me. Even if I do find the Cherub scenes where they're interacting with stuff kind of funny, I just find the scene a little too much and a little bit over the top compared to the normal actualization in the series. Now, I will say, in fairness, we see a scene with Fizzaroli and Blitz that I do find kind of heartwarming. They seem to be really good friends. They fist bump at the end. I kind of like that stuff. Now, from this point on, we actually get to see a pretty interesting fight. While Blitz is walking away, going to Stolas' house, we see the rest of IMP jumping the Cherubs because they saw them while following Blitz. Now, this is a pretty funny scene for a couple reasons. The only reason IMP are there is to make sure that Blitz doesn't mess up the present, so they're following him without saying anything. This is really funny because it kind of makes a lot of sense. This is the type of thing that IMP would do because they know Blitz could mess this up really easily and lose the book. So yeah, the fight's pretty cool. They're basically fighting in the background while trying to avoid Blitz noticing that they're there. And to be honest, from the fight itself, it doesn't seem like the Cherubs are at all comparable to IMP, and they seem to be even better suit versus non-suit. And to be honest, we kind of just see them get messed up. They don't really do well, and they kind of just forced to go in the portal and go back home because they got destroyed. Now, from here, we get to the big heart-wrencher of the episode. Stolas and Blitz finally meet up at the house, and we see this big interaction. From the very first interaction, it seems very clear. Stolas is kind of panicking, a little nervous, and trying to talk to Blitz, while Blitz is being really overconfident, thinking it's a big sex night, it's going to be so much fun. And then Stolas asks for the book. He says, "Can I see my book?" Blitz brings it out, a little confused, but then Stolas takes the book from him and says, "I need my book back." Permanently. For a split second, we see Blitz panic heavily. He says, "You can't do this. I won't be able to survive without it. I really need it." Tries to even persuade Stolas, but Stolas says no. Now, for a second, it seems that all love is lost. It seems to be over, but then Stolas brings out the medallion. For those who may have forgotten, in episode 6, we see Stolas ask Asmodeus for an Asmodean crystal. This crystal works as a legal gateway to let IMP go to the real world without Stolas losing his book. And you see, the way this will work would be all under the jurisdiction of Asmodeus. But you see, that's where things take a serious turn. We see Stolas turn to Blitz, say he loves him, confesses his whole love that he's had for a long time to Blitz. But you see, this is where everything takes a dark turn. Blitz doesn't believe him. He thinks it's roleplay. He thinks it's a joke because he could never believe royalty would ever love him. And due to this unseriousness, it kind of just shuts Stolas down. He rejects Blitz. He walks away, and then Blitz realizes he is serious. Blitz runs after him. He says, "No, you can't have this. You can't do this. You can't just try and play with my heart. Royalties try and do this to the poor all the time." And it seems to be deep-seated trauma on both ends. For Blitz, he can never trust anyone like this as he seems to have had bad experiences with royalty in the past. While on Stolas' end, he seems to be ripped apart by Blitz rejecting it. And what seems to hurt Stolas even more is the idea that Blitz thinks so lowly of him. He thinks that he considers royalty at all in this conversation. And that's what kind of kills it for Stolas. He says goodbye to Blitz and then sends him away. See, it's very obvious from the get-go that that Blitz does have feelings for Stolas, but he just doesn't believe it's mutual. He believes that this is just some game to Stolas, that he's royalty, that he's playing him. And that's what makes this episode so interesting, especially the start. It kind of sets the stage of the idea that Blitz misunderstands Stolas' opinion of him from the start. He thinks that Stolas thinks that Blitz is a toy, but he's not. And we can look back to the Striker episode to understand that Blitz actually does care for Stolas. He cared for him when he got hurt. But it seems to be his trust issues that always get in the way, which is why I really do like this episode, and I give it an 8 out of 10. As much as I don't like the duet song too much, I do like the general theme of the episode, and my only real gripe is the over-actualization in the middle and the duet not being the strongest song. But let me know your opinions in the comments below.